Today I'm going to talk a little bit about something that's very close to my heart, and I think close to yours, is how GIS is actually driving digital transformation, not just within your organizations, but I would venture across our planet. Now, we live in a complex and very interconnected world, where our human world of infrastructure and people intersects with the natural world, and they influence each other. And geography is the thing that brings them together and allows us to start to understand that. But everything we see, everything we experience, it constantly changes. And what's been evident over the last 5, 10, 15, 100 years is the pace of change is accelerating. The pace of what we have to deal with is changing. And it's creating many new challenges for both the human and the natural world. It's actually threatening our future now, our world as we know it, and our future ahead of us. Whether it's extreme weather, population, food security, energy, we're actually at a place in our planet's history where no human has ever been. That's a huge challenge. So what do we need to do? We actually need much more understanding. We need much more collaboration. We can't solve these problems alone. Ultimately, we need action. What can we do right now? Geography and the science of where is what actually brings all this data together so we can start to understand it, because understanding precedes action. So we can start to apply the power of digital geography and drive the action to change our world. The science of where actually provides the geospatial foundation for all of this understanding. And it's interesting as we think about the science of where and geography, it's not just GIS. And I've spent, a good part of 25 years in GIS. But our world is expanding. It's not just GIS, it's also these simple location and mapping. And these new geo-enabled systems that, they use maps and geography and the science behind it. They're not map-centric. All of these are actually empowering the entire geospatial community, including people who don't know how to spell geospatial. We're expanding much beyond our traditional base of the GIS geek in the basement. Now, many of you are that GIS geek in the basement, and more power to you. You're empowering all of this. GIS continues to advance rapidly, integrating and leveraging many new innovations in technology, in data, but also geospatial innovations as we pull together different technology. The pace of change continues to accelerate. Now, out of all of these changes over the last 10, 15 years, we've seen a pattern of web GIS emerge that's easier, open, and much more accessible for everyone. For us, WebGIS is about helping people do their work better. It provides the modern GIS architecture so that you can easily share between teams, individuals, departments, organizations. All the different roles in your organization can start to collaborate and use a common language of geography to communicate. That maps move beyond just the GIS geeks, but it becomes the fabric of the organization for communication. It's distributed, interconnected, and it actually engages everyone using geography as the common framework. Now, WebGIS is interesting because it actually supports multiple implementation patterns. And this is not an evolution slide. All of these coexist. From individual projects to tightly connected systems to what we're starting to see is geospatial infrastructure, sort of GIS at scale or a system of systems interconnected. I think within your organization, you have nodes of at least the first two, and some of you have all three. The other big change that we're seeing is it's not about the map that you produce these days. It's actually much more about the app that you produce these days that makes it come alive for the end user. It's really taking your work everywhere across the organization and beyond. But it's not just GIS. GIS and mapping is being framed in new areas. spatial BI, spatial business intelligence, and location intelligence are actually how people are starting to think about using location, using maps as part of their data understanding, getting visual insights from their information. They may not even think of themselves as GIS, and that's okay. They're part of this larger community. But the science continues to evolve, and the open science tools that are out there are fantastic. They are revolutionizing machine learning and artificial intelligence and just data understanding. We've always been a node in that larger scientific network with geospatial. Now that the rest of the network is becoming more and more robust, we can integrate those tools in with geospatial or geospatial into those tools to ask new questions and get better answers. What we're seeing is this interconnectivity of everything, of WebGIS, is actually driving the transformation. It's helping organizations re-envision their workflows. Most of you have moved off paper for many things. I'll say most, because we know there's always some that haven't. So this isn't about digital automation. You've already done most of that. This is about digital transformation. How do you re-envision your workflows now that everybody has some sort of connectivity? Where it can be simultaneous or near simultaneous collaboration, where your operations become increasingly integrated. It actually changes how the whole organization works. What does this mean? Where's this leading us? It's actually leading toward a massive transformation that we're just starting to get a peek at, where all information becomes increasingly interconnected. But it's not just information for information's sake. It's information that's changing processing and workflows. So it's dynamic. Things occur and things respond. It's an auto response system that is built up in the background. And of course, us humans, we still play a role in that. But the amount of data coming through, we need to teach the systems to be able to help us work with this data, understand it, and start to predict it. In many ways, all of this happening at the same time, with geography as the link bringing them all together, it creates this integrated geospatial infrastructure across your organization, across our nation, ultimately, at some scale across our planet. Because it's really using location and the power of place to integrate all your information, integrate everything, and change how we work. Now, our work is really about creating useful technology to help us on that path and to help you do your work better. Most of you know our technology is ArcGIS, but we've started talking about the Esri Geospatial Cloud as well. That's because our work is more than just GIS, as we're talking about more of mapping and location systems, these geo-enabled systems, and supporting the world of developers. All of this works together. It actually leverages much of the same common information models and data, as well as technology. But as you look across your own organizations, you can see where these different places live. So we're focused at delivering these geospatial systems and these geo-enabled systems to support everyone. Of course, ArcGIS is our comprehensive GIS part of that node, being services-based, being distributed, being open, but also offered both as software that you can install on your own systems, as well as SaaS. This is really the backbone of geospatial infrastructure, supporting individuals, of course, as well as teams and organizations to be able to share the information back and forth. Over the last few years, we've talked about the different aspects of an organization where geospatial comes into play. The system of record is the thing that has driven much of the work over the last 4 decades. Where are my assets? What is the condition of my assets? Map my assets. But increasingly, people are getting more and more value from geospatial by leveraging it as a system of engagement, to talk to everyone else in the organization, to frame the conversation inside of a map. or location. But don't forget about analysis, because pretty maps are pretty, but without the analysis, you're not making your decisions. So increasingly, we're seeing the system of insight move out of just the GIS experts writing scripts and models into the data science world and the business intelligence world, where geospatial brings a whole new dimension to the questions they're able to ask. It really leveraged the power of location to integrate information across entire organizations, no matter the role. Now I'm going to switch gears a little bit and talk about some of the advancements that have been happening in ArcGIS. I think many of you have seen the focus that we've put on providing out-of-the-box content. This is a huge investment for Esri. If you think of your career in GIS, you probably start the application, you start with a blank piece of paper, a blank map. We don't believe anyone should ever start with a blank map, whether it's your own base data within your organization or our digital atlas of the world, which at this point is probably the foremost and largest digital collection as a global geographic reference in the world. And the amount of data that's being added to it, both by us and by our customers, is growing exponentially. I would look in there for information about your sites, about the people around your site, the communities, but also the natural world and the human world infrastructure. Much of that data is now publicly available. We continue to advance mapping cartography because, let's face it, without the map, people don't know what we do. It's got to look good. So we continue to advance what you can do in symbology and annotation, but also other ways to be able to create those maps, whether it's directly from inside of Excel with Maps for Office, or you empower your creative designers who use Adobe to be able to leverage your GIS data and investment directly within Adobe to do beautiful maps. But maps have moved beyond paper and 2D visualization in many aspects, moved to 3D mapping and visualization. Whether that's smart mapping for buildings or cities or urban infrastructures or landscapes, to be able to pull in the 3D symbols and textures, to pull in massive point clouds of information, 3D meshes, increasingly augmented reality data, and global information, to be able to look at all of this on your own mobile device all around the world. What's interesting is GIS has really moved into the field. For many of us, our first GIS in the field was just a really big laptop with not a lot of battery power. But now, all of us, with the devices we carry on us right now, can start to get involved with GIS, whether it's looking at your maps and knowing where you are in association with it, or collecting information, or actually tracking your location or your employees' locations for site safety, to understand where people are, to plan workflows, to help them navigate the sites. Also, we're improving the way you can enter data with an application called Quick Capture, which allows very simple data attribution and editing with kind of thick-fingered approach to working on your cell phone. And all of this comes to life inside the dashboards. The dashboards are the things that, in many ways, many organizations, they're the new maps. They're the infographic that shares all your information in real time. One of the areas that we're continuing to advance that takes advantage of this mobile framework is working inside of buildings. We're bringing the GIS inside. There's a new product from us called ArcGIS Indoors, and it really is focused at being able to map, utilize, analyze, and plan directly inside of a building. It's asset management, going back to what I was talking about earlier. It becomes the system of record, but also becomes the system of engagement. So you can use your same information to share out, to help people to get from one place to another, to understand your space utilization. And all of this comes together and is shared out through Hub. Hub allows all of you to be able to share your information out, be able to make open data sites easily. But also, and more importantly for many of you, it allows you to build communities. Whether they're communities within your organization or communities across your own communities in a response or to the local communities or between different operating units. It allows you to really author these tight integration of tasks that multiple people can work on across your organization and beyond that feeds back in. Gives you performance reporting and even event calendar integration to be able to plan events to get people engaged. This is a product that initially you probably heard us talk about for local government, but increasingly we're seeing this used in businesses around the world. But what makes GIS different than just making maps really gets to analysis. And we continue to focus at how do we improve our analysis tools to enable better geospatial data science. Whether that's new tools or improving our work in charting and model builder, adding new spatial statistics tools, as well as working in raster, bringing in more bigger data sets, as well as starting to do some machine learning and artificial intelligence across that. Our 3D analysis with 3D fences and interactive slice is driven by much of this community. A few years ago, we launched Insights. ArcGIS Insights is spatial BI. It's data analytics powered by location, allowing you to reach outside of your traditional GIS analyst to start talking to the data scientists and business intelligence people across your organization and empower them with spatial as one of the things they can use to ask their questions. Whether it's mapping, analysis, charts, link analysis to see how things are connected. So Insights continues to be a real strong aspect of the platform and something that all of you can take advantage of. But ArcGIS is more than just the tools that we ship. It's about working with and including machine learning capabilities and integrating with AI and data science. This is improving clustering and prediction. It's integrating with multiple frameworks and platforms that are out there, like CNTK or TensorFlow, but bringing in this whole new world of open science libraries. We continue to improve all areas, and one of the areas that's really grown in ArcGIS over the last 15 years has been imagery. We really see ArcGIS as working as not just using imagery as background, but being the complete system for management, dissemination, visualization, exploitation, as well as analysis. Bringing in all the major sensors, including new tools for working with drones and creating ortho imagery and 3Ds from drone imagery, but also new charting and temporal profiles with imagery. Working in image space, be able to do measurement directly on the image without transformation. And now starting to work with oriented imagery as well. Be able to look at the pictures that you take on the ground and put them positionally correct on the map. One of the new areas for us in imagery was a new product called ArcGIS Excalibur. Now, this was initially developed for observation management and imagery exploitation for a number of, let's say, 3-letter agencies in the DC area. But what we found is there's a lot of other people who are interested at revisiting the same spot in imagery, marking it up with notes, and being able to catalog that over time to observe changes on the landscape from different image sensors. Does that sound like something some of you may be doing? So what we've done is you'll start to see this more and more as basically it's a web app that runs in your infrastructure that accesses your imagery in a really fast, dynamic way in image space or in projection to be able to work with all this different imagery and mark it up and start to understand and watch change over time. But GIS has also moved real time. Now, real time, there's different measurements of real time. Real-time measurement of parcels is measured in days or weeks. Real-time measurement in flow valves is sub-seconds. But each part of your organization has a different concept of what they think real-time is. But they want the same things. They want to be able to flow that data into the system to provide situational awareness, analysis, and alerting directly to the people impacted, and be able to also go back over time and see what the trends are, and understand how that data is changing, and how they could have responded different or modeled the information more. So we continue to improve our performance and scalability, as well as the functionality in these areas. Now, ArcGIS Enterprise is where all of this comes together. All these different capabilities come into enterprise that allows you to scale them out across your organization. And we continue to improve enterprise, pulling in new user types, these hosted Python notebooks, webhooks, which allow you to hook right into some of the processing to trigger actions on the back end, and new mapping styles. What we see with enterprise is increasingly deployed in your own private clouds to be able to power your infrastructure in the cloud as a SaaS service, but within your environment. ArcGIS Online is actually just a very large, scalable implementation of ArcGIS Enterprise. It's using the same technology that you have in a scaled cluster. What's it support? It supports a little over 6.7 million users, 32 billion maps last year created, 21 million items that people are searching on, and over 59 million downloads of data. This is the same infrastructure that you have access to leverage ArcGIS Online or using ArcGIS Enterprise to build your own equivalent. We continue to improve this to make it easier for both users and administrators. So both from creating the smart maps to how do you add bulk users and how do you administrate rights, at the same time staying current with TLS standards. At this point, we believe we are the world's largest mapping and data sharing platform by far. Day to day, much of your work for your analysts happens on the desktop, and that's now ArcGIS Pro. Our focus for the last few years has been on Pro. Of course, we continue to have ArcMap there to support things that you've had working and have not had a chance to move to Pro. But Pro is in a state now with added functionality that most users are beginning or have completed their migration into Pro, taking advantage of the new capabilities available and taking advantage of the 2D, 3D environment and the additional use of the hardware and the graphics cards. But it's more than that. It's bringing new reports and styles. Little things like spell check inside of your map, which for me I needed about 20 years ago. Is everything there yet? No, not everything. Right? Our parcels work. The first iteration will come later this year. Have some high-end offset printing work. And interesting for you is a new area for us will be voxels, volumetric pixels. So we'll be adding that in upcoming releases as well. When you think about what's next for us, it's continuing to keep at or above the pace of technology change, as well as address the areas that you have really been pushing us on, whether that's machine learning and imagery, but also field. Be able to have all your field users mesh networked and talking to each other and sharing information. Be able to work with billions of objects in real time, streamed across SaaS services. These are all things that we're working on. At the back end, that's microservices and containerization, making the technology that you have more and more robust. But it's not just about technology, it's about you and your professional development. So we invest in online courses and lifelong learning, as well as new press books, training, certification, learn lessons. If you haven't seen the learn lessons that are now on arcgis.com, they're amazing. They help lead you through how you can apply GIS in different ways. As a GIS professional, I still use them because there's new areas that I have not worked in that I go and use a learn lesson to get up to speed. They're not just for the novice users. We're also working with many of you and helping you derive learning plans for your own organizations so you can help train your organizations and understand their path for development. As a company, Esri, our purpose has not changed. We exist to serve our users, advancing GIS and the science of where around the world. We're strong and continue to grow thanks to you, our customers. But remember, we are engineering and science focused. We are different parts of our organization work together to try to help improve our world in terms of spatial literacy, science, conservation, and education, helping people make better decisions, and working together to really make a difference in the world. So how do we collectively take the next step? How do we embrace this digital transformation and leverage the science of where to change not only your own work, but your organization and ultimately our planet? We need to take the initiative. We need to understand what's possible. All of us know people who they know this, and that's the only place they want to work. We need to continue to expand, continue to understand how geospatial works across your organization, and embrace how the technology advances, continuously learn and work together, and take action, leveraging this geospatial infrastructure that's really becoming a global GIS. It's really creating a geoscience-based foundation for where we're going and our future. Winston Churchill said, "To improve is to change. To be perfect is to change often." So, final message for us here today, let us embrace this change. Let us strive for perfection. It's something we must continue to work on. We must continue to learn. And we must envision how geospatial can help us.